I hate feet. Never did I think I'd begin a video by admitting that, but gross. I have found an anime that is so shameless, so gratuitous in its love for toes that I have been forced to talk about this. And while I am well versed in the land of anime fan service, I have never seen a show like Akebi's Sailor Uniform. I mean, that girl just sniffed her toenail clippers. And instead of being freaked out, main character Akebi decides she should also give her foot a little whiff.
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Not only that, but she does this directly after going on a run where she was sweating profusely. God, I'm making myself sick just thinking about this. But let me just preface this by saying, if you're into feet, you do you. Feel free to keep sucking on those toes all day. I mean, maybe not all day. It'd be weird to munch on 10 little piggies in the middle of class, but apparently that's not as weird as this anime seems to think. But you know, maybe I'm exaggerating. Let's just take a look at the first 4 minutes of this show. That alone should be enough to tell if this show would get the Quentin Tarantino foot of approval. Before we even see our protagonist's face, we are met with a leg down shot of her running across an open road. But you know what? She's wearing shoes, so maybe I was wrong. It's not like she's walking around barefoot or anything. What's that? She jumped into the water and she took off her shoes? Well, I mean, that's only natural. No one wants to walk around in wet socks and shoes. That's just nasty. I would do the same thing if I were her. Okay, ew, gross. But that shot only lasted what, like a second? I doubt there'll be any other weird angles within the next 4. Okay, cool. Okay, I get it. There is zero denying that the creators of this show knew exactly what they were doing. This anime is produced by Cloverworks, the studio that brought us Bunny Girl Senpai, Horimiya, and most recently, My Dress Up Darling. However, unlike My Dress Up Darling, where the feet shots are few and far between, and also accompanied by Maran Kitagawa's other assets, Akebi's Sailor Uniform has more feet, more sweat beads, and more schoolgirl outfits than actual plot. I genuinely tried to count just how many feet shots there were in the first 4 episodes, and hand on heart, pinky promise, swear to Miku, I lost count. Wet toes, dry toes, friends' toes, toes in stockings, toes poking out of knee-high socks. It's overwhelming to say the least. We literally hit the point that when I saw this scene of Akebi sweating, my first thought was, damn, those feet must stink. This show managed to brainwash me after a single episode. I went through a full brain rewiring for you guys, so the least you could do to repay me is smash that subscribe button with your toes. I mean feet. But I could already hear the comments. Why, Sway? Why do you hate feet so much? Are you just a prude or something? No, I'm not. Believe it or not, I do prefer a woman's touch to my Miku body pillow. And the World's End Harem video was not censored because I'm a prude. It was censored because I'd like to stay on Miss Susan's good side. Instead, I believe I have a very reasonable explanation for my anti-foot fetish. If you're like me, you spend your days walking around in Nike free runs because they're the only shoes that can fit your flat and wide feet. But even if you're not like me, you walk, you run, and you sweat. Your feet get dirty and smelly throughout the day. You then come home and walk barefoot across your house, spreading dirt and crumbs along the way. And that's exactly how it should be. Humans are the result of millions of years of evolution. It took us over 2 trillion days to hit the point that we are standing on our own 2 feet today. But that's exactly my point. Feet were engineered to stand, to walk, to move. I don't believe they should be anywhere but firmly planted on the ground. Unless you're being bullied for thinking that Ichika's the best quintuplet, in which case, stop it, get some help. But also, in that case, I guess you could raise your foot to roundhouse kick your perpetrator in the face. However, while I think that this argument is perfectly sound and logical, I'm in the minority when it comes to my opinions on this show. Akebi's Sailor Uniform is currently sitting at a respectable 7.57 on my anime list. To put things into perspective, that is rated higher than the Re:Zero movie and only a 1/10 of a point below absolute peak fiction. So, why is Akebi's Sailor Uniform popular despite my gripes with it? The plot, when it's not focusing on pleasing very specific crowds, is quite cute. The show has a simple premise. Akebi is a girl that wants to wear a sailor's uniform to school and make 100 friends. That's it. However, since her mother attended the Robai Academy Middle School for Girls, the tradition has changed. Rather than wear a sailor's uniform, the students now wear blazers. So Akebi is forced to... Oh, she was given special permission by the principal of the school to wear a sailor's uniform anyway? Okay, that's cool. But Akebi's a bit of an outcast, which I think many of us can relate to. And I mean, on top of all of her other strange quirks, she's literally the only girl wearing a sailor's uniform in a school full of catty middle school girls. So when she has to join a group, she instantly makes a group of friends and ends up being super popular? Makes sense. I wasn't about to go on a rant about my own loner life or anything, right? But seriously, why wouldn't Akebi be popular? Despite her quirks, she's an extremely thoughtful girl. She takes notes on every single student in the class, noting their interests, personality traits, and physical features. And while this is a nice sentiment, she does go a bit overboard at times. Case in point, she likes this girl's legs a little bit too much. But she's trying her best. So despite her clear awkwardness, I found myself rooting for her from start to finish. I remember what it was like to try to make friends in middle and high school. And if that's something you're still going through, I'm sorry, but I believe in you, soldier. It's a stressful time, and we often make fools out of ourselves when we try to impress our peers. These kinds of moments are encapsulated perfectly through Akebi's actions. She fumbles her way through her introduction on the first day of class, oversharing about her life. She also overshares some other parts of herself. However, unlike the a-holes I went to middle school with, her classmates are quite understanding of her awkwardness. Instead of judging her for her shortcomings, they appreciate her outgoing, bubbly nature. It's a feel-good story you can't help but be engrossed by. Every time I'm about to wince from embarrassment for Akebi, she gets back on her feet and recovers perfectly. Her determination to make 100 friends makes her unstoppable. She even makes a point to connect to the outcasts of the class, adding them to her harem without patronizing them. So, despite all the Dan Schneider camera angles, would I suggest you watch this anime? Not exactly. The problem is, every time I think I should recommend this anime, I'm reminded of moments like this, or this, or this. Which would already be weird if they were found in a mature setting, but this show is set in a primary school. These children, yes, children, are in middle school. And if you forgot that these characters were kids throughout the video, I wouldn't even blame you. It really does seem like this show is catering to a strange audience. Take Miss Nice Legs Tanigawa-san, for example. When I said that Akebi likes her legs, she really likes her legs. So much so, when she's too shy to show them off in public, Akebi comes up with a solution. She gives Tanigawa her number and asks her to send a photo of them later. Which somehow, this interaction sounded significantly less weird when she said it, but still. And look, I get it. Compared to middle schoolers today, I went to school in the Stone Age. I remember that my first phone wasn't even a smartphone. It was a BlackBerry Curve. But even if this is an activity that kids could realistically partake in today, how about we don't put it in an anime meant for a non-minor audience? This also begs the question, was Tanigawa merely sending a cute photo to a friend, or does it run deeper than that? In fact, there are so many of these moments between Akebi and her 100 friends that I kept thinking, is this show considered yuri? But then I backpedaled. I am neither familiar with being a woman nor having friends, so who knows? Maybe it's completely normal to send a homie a cute pic and smile when he compliments you. Nevertheless, more and more of these scenes started to pop up. The rule became that any girl that interacted with Akebi automatically had to blush at least once. I ended up being so confused, I googled it and I found this official art on Reddit, so I'm assuming it's safe to say it somewhat is? A little bit? Maybe? Regardless, I went into Akebi's sailor uniform fully expecting to see feet and automatically hate it. So, did I end up hating it as much as I despise feet? Well, it's not often a show leaves me completely uncertain as to how I should feel, but I'm truly at a stalemate on this one. I do not endorse any part where the anime indulges in some questionable shots. That being said, I still found myself enjoying certain aspects of the show, at least after dry heaving between the dirty feet scenes. Akebi's sailor uniform had the chance to be a cute slice of life, but I ultimately found myself distracted by all the strange moments sprinkled throughout. I haven't read the manga, so I can't say whether these moments originated from the source material or if these moments were inserted by Cloverworks, but either way, I believe this show ultimately trips on its own 2 feet and falls flat because of it. Well, that's Akebi's sailor uniform in a nutshell. For now, if you want to hear about one of my favorite anime of all time, check out my video on Tactop Destiny.